even when I've worked in clinics, that was always important to me to always, at least twice a day, go through a pass, just check on everyone. And sometimes the smallest gesture of, do you need a break just to go to the bathroom?
Yeah.
Yes, I'll cover the front desk for you during that time. I can check in this patient. I can take care of this for you. Or just being there to help them problem solve in the moment. You will win people over with just what to me is a very small gesture, but very meaningful.
You're listening to Hearts of Excellence, brought to you by Majestic Care, where real stories from long-term care come to life. Our guest, Sarah Schacher, grew up in Missouri, the Show Me State, where she learned early that results matter more than rhetoric. Today, as Chief Human Resources Officer at Majestic Care and Bluegrass Consulting Group, she channels that same no-nonsense heart into one of the most important jobs in healthcare, making sure the people on the front lines of care have everything they need to show up fully for the people they serve. Sarah, welcome to the Hearts of Excellence podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm like vibrating with excitement to be here. Yeah.
We're so excited. We do this. We have the same reaction every time. We get super excited, and I'm
going to believe that reaction is just for me.
It's
today.
Just for you today. We're very, very excited about it. All right. Well, we're going to dive in. We've got a really interesting conversation planned today. We're excited to learn more about you. Our listeners have told us they want to hear more about culture and talent, and I can't wait for them to listen to this podcast. So let's start with our first question today. Sarah, take me back to the beginning of your career in healthcare. And what pulled you in? And was there a moment early on where you thought, this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
Oh, that's such an interesting question. Certainly didn't think I would end up here, but it's been an amazing journey to be there so far. What originally kind of drew me to healthcare is I always really wanted to work supporting underserved and like vulnerable populations. So I originally just really had this heart of I wanted to work with persons with disabilities. That was my goal. That's what I was coming into. So when I cast off in college, I had this idea that I was going to be a vocational rehabilitation counselor or a behavior analysis. I thought I was going to be a vocational rehabilitation counselor or a behavior analyst.
Wow.
Working with persons with disabilities. So when I was in undergrad, I got into a company that focused on that. They did job supports and placement for persons with disabilities and at-home supported living. So I got my foot in the door, kind of edged in there. And strangely, I started as an AP clerk in the finance department. So I cut checks and paid bills for them. And what happened from there was administration kind of clicked with me. And I started to reimagine what my future would be like in supporting those individuals and realized that from behind those front lines, I could actually have a lot of influence and support as a part of that indirect care team member for them. So I started changing my path and still very much was dedicated to the population, did a lot of volunteering, of course, worked side by side with our care team members at that time. But that's where it kind of evolved into, okay, I'm sticking more on the operations side and the program development side. But sometimes I miss that element of being right next to the individuals that we serve.
Yeah.
But I love being able to be out with them now and really connect with them. So all of it comes back to just this people focus. And it's more of what we do here at Majestic here in Bluegrass also. It's serving the underserved and those vulnerable populations.
Thank you for sharing that. That is beautiful. It's like that helper's high we get, serving people and the impact that we're having. And I love hearing everyone's story, but mostly I love hearing where you started and, what really set your heart on fire. And it truly is the heart behind the work that we do every day. So that's really cool.
I think my journey too is really shaped by, that environment that you come from. And I'm from Southwest Missouri. I've shared that. It is a community that is so dedicated to taking care of community. Really? I went to a public affairs university, which is very focused on let's do societal problem solving. Let's do public service. And the Springfield community was amazing. They have all of these different organizations that are binding together of how do we take care of each other. And it's so inspiring to be brought up in that environment. And it just takes you on of how do you spread that out to other communities.
Yeah.
So I've had the joy of being able to expand that to other areas too.
That's really cool. I love that.
Yeah, it's interesting.
as you talked about your journey, it's just interesting because I remember one of my bosses one time just said, you have to find what gets you up in the morning and what your connecting point is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just remember it was the residents that we serve. And I remember when I was an administrator, that's what really resonated. I could tell when I was getting too far away or I had too many meetings or I was in too many whatever, I would always go back out and walk the floors. And I would do that connecting point again because it's like, okay, this is the reality why we do what we do. The long hours, the long nights, the weekends, whatever it is. But again, it's taking care of the people, the most vulnerable. And even now, there's times it's like, okay, I'm going to go to a building and I want to go walk the building. I don't bring my laptop in. I don't bring things in. I purposely want to sit in meetings. I want to go out and talk to the residents and just truly get that high again.
Yeah. It's an important part of how we reset ourselves like revive ourselves. I mean, that's part of my personal wellness for me. And I always loved, early in my career, we always used to use the phrasing of, remember how many lives we've changed today. It was a part of our cultural aspect there, our landscape of think about how many lives we're changing together.
Yeah.
And I always hang on to that moment in my mind because I think about how powerful it is to say that we change lives and the services that we provide.
Absolutely. It definitely puts into perspective other jobs because when you do get out of, whether it's healthcare or working with developmental disabilities, you catch yourself almost thinking, what did I do today? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like beyond just playing office or, but in our industry, in other, the acute care industry and whatnot, you can see that impact and that it's hard. I mean, I remember jobs in college. I worked at Best Buy at the customer service desk, shocker. And I loved it. However, it's like, do you want a long-term career in something where you're not seeing that impact with people? And anyway, so there's a huge difference there, but definitely.
I would always challenge you, every job has impact. That's something I believe in really strongly.
Oh, 100%.
We experience other people's service to us in many different ways that bring us value. So I always want to encourage people, every job that's out there is a meaningful job with purpose that makes people like me happy.
Yeah. It's a great reminder.
It's that connecting. What's the connecting to it, though? Mm-hmm. Right? So again, I'll use, like my daughter, she's very much that mind where she wants to be the fixer and problem solver. Mm-hmm. And again, it's a nurse. Mm-hmm. She's going to be a nurse. That's what she wants to do. And then, look at them. If I look at my son, and we just did this last night. So I look at my son is more that, but he's wired more on the administrative side. Logical, looks at it from a different viewpoint. So where they collide, it's like administration colliding with clinical because they sometimes do collide.
Yeah, they see it different.
It absolutely is a real clash that's out there. So we have to understand we're actually going to connect those joints.
Yes.
Than butt up against each other.
Yeah.
Correct. Because at the end of the day, it goes back to, it's all about the residents that we serve. And again, the conversation we were having at the end of the day, you have to be able to look at each other and say, I agree to disagree with you on this one. Yeah. And that's okay. It's the reality. But at the end, in our roles, then we can say, I agree to disagree, Sarah. But at the end, we have to come up with a solution, whether we follow your recommendations. And I may disagree, but again, you're the leader of HR and that might be the right direction. I don't have to always agree.
No, we absolutely don't.
We can have that conversation, but at the end, what's the impact to our residents and our care team members out there? Because again, it goes back to the culture of our company, which is very important. Because again, if we don't have a strong culture, we can't serve the people that we want to.
You and I have talked about too, disagreement is often where your strongest solutions are born. Like it just makes those juices in your mind flow differently and think differently of how do we actually really come together to move forward. Yeah. So I love that dissent because that's where we actually get creative.
I would agree.
Absolutely. Great conversation. Sarah, you grew up in Missouri, the show me state. How does that sensibility show up in the way you lead? And what does show me mean to you in a human resources context?
I love the fact that I come from the show me state. Although I'm a newly anointed Hoosier, I don't know what that means.
You're a Hoosier.
It's a fun word to say. But I think when I put in context of me as a show me person from that state as well, I always think back to a few years ago, I actually had a team member who described me as, Sarah, you're a receipts kind of girl. Like, I am very much I want to have backup to what we're doing, and I want to be able to show what we're actually doing out to individuals. I am extremely pragmatic. I think probably Paul's already picked up on that as well. I'm a very practical person. It doesn't have to be the fanciest solution. It has to be a workable solution. And I think I stay very grounded in that framework. And that guides me as far as HR as well. It's focusing on the people. That's really what we're here to do. And how do we help our people be successful? So let's come up with things that are practical for them, that's not a burden, that opens up opportunities for them, lets them focus on their care for residents, and honestly lets them focus on themselves and their family and that development and flourishing. That's where it always brings me back to. But that receipt scroll, I'll never let go of that.
That's awesome.
I will always be the person that will have documentation on something. I'll be able to circle back. I'll be able to say, show me what you did, and I can show you what I did too.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Well, and you've only been here a short time with us, and I can tell you can truly see that. Just in the projects we've worked on together, you can truly see, and what I value so much with Sarah is that element where it's transparency to our care team members. Mm-hmm. It's the importance of tell the story, not just here's a piece of paper with a box, check it. It's more about, well, what's behind the check? I'm just ready to
Exactly.
It's, okay, there's more context. Here's the story. Here's what it means. And that is more impactful than just saying, again, we'll just use, if it's a bonus structure, just giving you a document that says, here's how much.
Right.
Well, you want to know, what does that mean? How did that happen? Like, what's tied back behind it? Because as a leader, you just want to know, like, again, is there an opportunity to make difference? And where can I make a difference? Is it in different metrics and that? And if we don't ever share that, it then just becomes a dollar figure. And that really isn't what we should be about, just the dollar figure. It's about the results that we're driving.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of being a Hoosier, no, first of all, I did not know Missouri was initially the show me state.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean?
What does that mean, Sarah?
What does the show me state mean? It means like Missourians are known. It goes back to some folklore story. I wish I could tell you exactly what that is, but it goes back. This is like learning from my 4th grade elementary class, where you went through learning the state flower and the state mineral. But it's more about that Missourians show this very appropriate level of like skepticism and questioning of things, and want to get down to like real truth and proof of facts.
That's pretty cool.
Oh, very cool.
It matches me, right?
That.
It does
love
match
it.
you.
I don't know.
I love
it was
that.
Kismet that I was born in Missouri.
I love it. I had no idea. That's really cool. You've worked across large multi-state organizations throughout your entire career. Was there a point where the scale of it felt overwhelming, or where you had to figure out how to stay connected to the individual people when the numbers got really big?
It certainly does present its own challenge, like a spread out footprint and a large number of care team members. Obviously, that's very difficult to connect to. I think it starts at how did you establish that foundation of your culture and connection? And do you have like all the leaders at every point in that geographic footprint on the same page with each other? So it's more, it really starts with that. I believe very much in like a top-down modeling. Like if we as leaders are not living what we expect of individuals and what we really believe for the organization, it's unfair for us to expect any other care team member to do the same for us. It's really about still focusing on how do we encourage leaders to develop their relationships with individuals. It all comes down to that. And how do we communicate really our vision and our mission to them well, and model that for them and give them the tools to do it. That's what develops your culture, essentially. Obviously, this is so odd to say, but to thank the pandemic for bringing us technological tools that actually brought a lot of ease into that. They already existed. We just didn't adopt them as well as we should have. We were really stuck in this rut of everything needs to be in this face-to-face forum. And at least the pandemic exploded that opportunity for us. But I still believe a lot in the face-to-face. I've shared with Paul a lot. I want to be in the communities. In my former life, I was in the clinics or in the offices where we provided service, because we need to have that direct presence to connect to individuals. And remember, it only really takes a moment to make impact with someone. There's a downside to that too. it only takes a moment to have an impact with someone.
Yeah.
So make
That
sure it's
first
the
impression.
best moment that you can absolutely have.
Yeah.
And I always want to model that for our leaders, help them understand how to make the most out of those moments and developing that culture. It's an oversimplification for me to tell you it's about people, but it is. It's how do we interact with them, support them, show our appreciation? How do we communicate when it's not going well? That's a big part of cultural building also. How do we let them know what the path to success really looks like? We've got to focus on the relationships. And you'll hear me say that over and over again at any time I lead a virtual call or set that stage. One of the small things I expressed to Paul was, I'm a camera on kind of person. I need to see facial expressions. Let's tap into our opportunities for that.
No, I would agree with all that. We talked a little bit about that is when you see people's faces, you see how that comment landed, or are they engaged, or are they... Who knows, right? We could assume
in the
many
technology
things.
world, you could tell when people are working,
Yeah.
their camera's on, but you can see their eyes. They're reading an email, typing, and that's okay, can you stop? But it's interesting because back when I worked in the large healthcare system, it is about the connecting. And I remember they rolled out, and I can't even remember, it's kind of like our Hearts of Excellence program that we have in our company, but they branded it a different name, and I can't remember. So this was through the whole hospital system, post-acute, everything. This was the journey we were on. So they gave us a clipboard. They gave us cue cards.
Okay.
And they gave us this whole, in a document we could write notes on, this whole kind of toolkit. But the part they missed was it wasn't about the toolkit, but that's how they were educating us to the toolkit. So then when you go out on the floor, and I'll use Chelsey because I know she's a nurse by background, it'd be like me coming up to you and just say, just a minute.
Oh, gosh.
You flip through your cue cards and you're trying to find the right one. So do you have the equipment that you need to do your job?
Crawl out of my skin.
Right. And so you're fine. And then you write down, met with Chelsey. Chelsey said no, or Chelsey said this. Well, there's that human element you miss.
Yeah.
That person-to-person contact. And I just remember this isn't working. This is so not me.
You're I'm just reading my cards.
Right. So then I remembered, I'm okay, that's when I had my lesson learned. This isn't about the document. Our Hearts of Excellence isn't about the document. It's the tool to help guide you.
Right.
But it's really about put the document down and just look at Chelsey and say, you know what? You look like you're having a rough day.
Right.
What's going on? Right. And if you can build the relationship, and what I found is if you can get to the people's heart, they will sing like a canary.
Absolutely.
I don't have the equipment. That over there is not working. I don't have this. But it truly is, if you don't make that connection, or when you have to go and say, you know what, can we talk about this? Because I don't agree with you, Chelsey, on this one, or I don't agree, Sarah. Well, you have a relationship that is I know Paul's doing this out of the right context.
Right. Mm-hmm.
It's not like he's coming at me to fire me or have a bad opinion. He's literally coming and just saying, hey, can we have a conversation? But because we built that relationship, it makes it a lot easier to have. So I absolutely agree with you.
To me, I love the idea of intentional rounding.
Yeah.
Great that they encouraged that with you. But you can't focus on the supplies with it. It needs to be human and natural. Yeah. And it's something, we always used to joke in my former life of an executive director, they had a great day if their feet hurt at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Because they've spent so much time on the floor with their care team members alongside them. And even when I've worked in clinics, that was always important to me to always, at least twice a day, go through a pass, just check on everyone. And sometimes the smallest gesture of, do you need a break just to go to the bathroom? Yeah. Yes, I'll cover the front desk for you during that time. I can check in this patient. I can take care of this for you. Or just being there to help them problem solve in the moment. You will win people over with.
Goes a long way.
Just what to me is a very small gesture, but very meaningful.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's interesting, it's showing people that it's not, I think, Chelsey, you say this, or I can't remember, it's not what you do when people are watching, it's what you do when people aren't watching.
Right.
So it's not doing those things showing up because, is the camera's on me or are people watching? It's literally walking by a call light or walking in and just saying, well, here, I'll pick up those trays because I can do that. Mm-hmm. So the person down there needs help maybe going to the bathroom. So again, as leaders, displaying that, we're all in it together. Doesn't matter if I'm in a suit today. It doesn't matter if I'm in jeans today. It doesn't matter what I'm in. I can go in a room and answer. And I used to always say as a leader, look, at probably 80% or more of the callings I can handle.
You're right. I feel the same way when I'm at a community of if there is a call light on, I'm just going to step in and say, what can I do for you?
Yeah.
Also, it's often just passing ice or water or grabbing a pillow off the floor. Simple things that I can resolve quickly and be responsible for. If it's not something I can do, I say I'm going to track someone down for you.
Yeah.
But even that human connection of someone's watching out for you and has your back, that's just very important. And I always want to preach ownership of that too. Like we should take ownership of every opportunity we have to make that magic moment for someone, essentially.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
If we see a spill on the floor, I don't care if I'm there in my suit. I'm going to clean up that spill because that's the right thing to do.
Right. Yes. The Hearts of Excellence it's operationalizing our mission. You know, I mean,
absolutely.
we have a framework, however, like you both were saying, make it you, make it personal, right? Here's suggested things to say. However, we want it to be you. We want it to be human. And if you are owning that, being accountable, you're walking, living, breathing our mission every day. I love it. Okay, Sarah, so we've talked about the why. Now let's talk about the what. So your bio says you're driven by removing barriers for care teams. We've talked a little bit about that already. You're removing barriers for care teams for the people they serve. Tell me about a time you removed a barrier and something measurably changed for someone on the front line.
I've evolved a lot in my career. Really, so what? I'm admitting that I'm at 20 years in, at least, to my career. And really only half of that's been really truly dedicated to HR leadership. I've always been more on the operational programmatic side. But HR is fresh in my mind. That's where I've settled into. I've made my nest there now. So maybe I'll focus on that. I think a lot about how do we simplify lives for our care team members in a way that meets their needs the most. So like some of the things that Paul and I have talked about of small opportunities that we have here at Majestic here in Bluegrass is we don't have a solution right now for our care team members to enroll in their health benefits electronically. It's all done over the phone or with the person. And I think to myself, they live such busy lives, usually are talking with the partner about what's best for you and the family on that enrollment. And I personally will usually do that at 11 p.m. at night when I'm there with my spouse, talking through that. Like that's small things that actually we can do to make big impact for them. And really, when I think back on it, I've done a lot of that in HR in my career. I mean, coming in here, when I took over the helm of my first company as their VP of HR and payroll, really focused on new software implementation. We didn't have employee self-service, so we didn't make it easy for them to be able to live their lives outside of work in the way that work influenced that. How did we improve our health plans to really meet their needs, removing those kind of barriers and thoughts? And when I say barriers, sometimes it's not even something, I'm thinking more about things that prevent them from moving forward in the direction that they want to. So we've got to always offer them the solutions that make them happy and make them feel secure of what that means next for them. I'm also a big person of, I hate steps that just seem like, why are we repeating our work? Or can't we simplify this in some way? So can be very process-oriented, sometimes almost too process-oriented on that. Of how do I simplify for care team members to give us feedback in some way or to report an issue to us and seek that resolution.
Earlier, you mentioned, we talked a little bit about something that I really admire about you is education. So we talked a little bit about, it wasn't about education, but it was something along those lines. And that is a huge barrier being removed. Like that reduces so much mental load for our care team members when they know what their resources are and they're educated about, it was about the why. They're educated about the why. We all have so many things going on in our lives, just knowing you have somewhere to turn to. Oh, or this is easy. Oh, I thought it was so hard, but it's not, right? And so that was one right there I can think of that
so
you already
you helped me out there. I'm a very organized, it doesn't always come across as I can be very structured. I can tell you there's always a method to the madness. My thoughts are much more organized, and sometimes I bring them out of my mouth for you. But I tend to always want to be very transformative of how easy do we make it for care team members and really some of those frontline leaders that are working with us too, to get the information and resources and tools that they need. I don't want them to have to call Sarah always for the answer. I want to have the answer already out there for them and for them to be self-sufficient and independent and to be able to carry that across the finish line. So organizing the way that we present information, making that accessible to them is one of the easiest ways that we can simplify the lives of all of our care team members across the board.
It's a necessity anymore because, again, as the generations keep changing, again, my kids live off of technology. So, again, it's things we've talked about. I'm sure if, our care team members, our younger ones coming in and saying, okay, you're going to get a phone call. And they're going to be like, a phone call? Yeah. Like, what?
And we get so many phone calls, like spam calls. I mean, someone sells your information. I mean.
And they don't do phone calls typically. They do text. They do some type of, Instagram chats, whatever, all the things they use. But again, it goes back to even the technology. Like, I know for me, back in the day, I would sit with my wife and we'd kind of go through the benefit plan and just saying, okay, what should we do and how much is it going to impact our finances, especially when our finances, when we were young in our marriage, and it's like, okay, every penny counts. Yeah. Not that it doesn't now, but back then, I mean, I was the nurse aide and she was worked at Walgreens. We made like $13 an hour together. So again, it's like, we have to make sure. So again, making sure that we have the technology, the tools, the resources for our care team members. And that's what's very exciting is that they'll have that to be able to tap into and utilize and really help them be successful in their careers.
Absolutely. You frame the work as serving both the care team and the person receiving care, and sometimes those needs pull in different directions. Was there a time you had to hold both of those things at once? And tell us a little bit about how you navigated that.
Initially, when you asked it, I heard it as almost like these competing needs. Yeah. And I thought, well, okay, then we haven't done our part as leaders to really help honor what the role of care team members is and to help them understand their influence and their contribution towards how we serve our residents and our patients. But sure, there are times I think maybe there could be that conflict. I think it goes back to that, natural tension that sometimes comes up with like operations and clinical arms. You need both of them to function really well. One cannot survive without the other. As much as they may want to disagree on that, it's just the reality. Right. We make each other stronger.
Absolutely.
Working together. So I think it's always still acknowledging what those pain points are and maybe what seems to be conflicting ideologies. It goes back to that, old school approach of like mediating a problem. Let's reframe that problem together and realize what are we actually up against. So maybe one example that I would bring is burnout. So we need to take care of our residents well. That's a demanding role for our care team members at the front line to do. But we also want to preserve, their work-life balance and their health. And those sometimes can seem like they're competing. But if we find a way to take care of and avoid that burnout issue, we're actually going to have better care for our residents.
Right.
Like we're going to be more focused on them. We're going to be healthy and fluid and clear-eyed to support them. So sometimes I think it's identifying maybe if we solve what might be this seemingly isolated problem over here, we've actually resolved the whole and brought some peace to the process.
As you mentioned earlier, you recently joined Majestic and Bluegrass Consulting in early 2026. What surprised you most or something you didn't expect to find that when you walked in?
Is it strange to say almost nothing should surprise you at this point in your career?
I love that.
Yeah, I always like to joke there's nothing that you can say to an HR person that they haven't heard before is the reality. But maybe I'll say a very pleasant surprise and welcome. And it was really probably very influential in my decision to come to Majestic Care and Bluegrass, is that there was this very dedicated focus to our care team members are important to us. And we are really in this phase now where we're going to do everything we can to lift them up.
Yeah.
And that was a huge selling point for me because unfortunately, this is no criticism of where I've been before. I've worked at great companies before, but sometimes we lose focus on that. And in our industry that we do here of Majestic Care and Bluegrass, our people are our product. That's what we really offer our residents and our families. So we need to have the best product that we can to make ourselves competitive, to make sure that it's a great experience for our residents, to make sure that they are happy and cared for. We're committed to that. We're full on. We're putting all of our, research and development and all of our focus into that now. And then that was irresistible to turn away.
What's interesting is you're talking about that piece. So I went to, trying to remember the conference. I think I went to the Quality and Population Health Summit. And so checked in at the hotel, and as you can see by the can on the table, I'm a huge Diet Coke drinker, and hotels are either Pepsi or Coke. So long story short is I asked the gentleman, do they have a vending or an area? And I said, do you have any Diet Coke? It was late at night. I was getting in late. And he said, no. And the part that amazes me, and it's what you talked about, is pouring in that experience, lifting them up. This gentleman literally, not only did he go to wherever he went, because they sold Pepsi products, but wherever he went, somewhere, found and brought me that night 3 Diet Coke, cans of Diet Coke. But not only did he do that, the next day I went to my room, and in my room was a 12-pack.
Whoa.
Oh, that's so
you think about, how do you allow team members, how do you build that culture? How do you help lift them up? How do you help them feel like I'm invincible? I can do anything because I've been empowered by the leaderships. I've been empowered by Chelsey and her role, and Paul and Sarah and whomever. And I literally had to pause, and I had to go downstairs and find somebody. I'm like, do you have a way for me to communicate to him? Because this was blew my mind. He had no reason. And the lady's like, a 12-pack? And she goes, the only way that could have happened is he must went and got it.
Wow. That's special.
So, what an incredible person.
Yeah.
Oh,
that is
right. But again,
chef's kiss, that story.
What did they do in their company? What did they do to fester or to allow that to happen and allow that person to feel confident they could do that? And literally for me, I'm like, okay, how do I recognize? And I'm like, I'm not a cash carrier because of technology and that. So I'm trying to find as much cash as I can to put it in this thank you card to write to him and just say, oh my gosh, this is phenomenal. Yeah. So again, it's like you referenced, it's how do we continue to lift up our workforce? How do we continue to remove the burnout, all the external strenuous stressors they have in their lives so they can come in and just deliver that level of care? It's just phenomenal.
That's really special. All right, nearing the final questions. If you could talk directly to someone who's working a double shift right now, whether it's a CNA, a QMA, a nurse, they're exhausted and they're wondering if anyone in leadership even sees them, what would you want them to know?
When I talk about focusing on people, it's always about individuals. And our care team members should always be on this very individualized basis that makes them feel recognized and seen. So I don't know that I would have a blanket response for any particular person. I think in my due diligence, I would know that individual well to be able to come up with a message that really helps them. But I do think what we strive for at Majestic Care and Bluegrass, and really we're accomplishing it, is we do see all of those contributions. And we recognize the sacrifices that we're asking our care team members to make to be able to really support residents. Taking care of others is the hardest job any of us will ever encounter. Yeah. And I mean that in all sense of the word, or of the phrasing of what it means to take care of others. I always also say your hardest job that you will ever do is to be a manager of people and a supervisor to people, because they are counting on you to be your best. It's a job where you always have to be on.
But I think it goes back to what we said earlier. It's a great question because we're faced with it every day. We're faced with somebody doing a double. We're faced with maybe we didn't realize they didn't have the equipment they need. But it's that organic and that natural relationship to connect versus the cue cards where you're flipping through versus seeing your face and just saying, okay, you're working a double. Like, okay, recognizing that it's that emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
that
I mean,
we
I
should
think
all
I would almost
have.
open that up and just tell me how you're feeling.
Right.
Let me respond to how you're feeling. I need to
Right.
have that discovery and understand that from that individual.
Yeah.
But we really should, in every day with each other or every interaction that we have, like every meeting should close with, let's expressing our thanks to each other for being present, for being involved, participating in that. And that's the way that we should walk away from every shift, every time we're headed out the door, is let's recognize the people who made it possible.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, everyone's going to have a different story. We have single moms that are working a double, and their challenge could be that, again, once you make that human connection and they feel like they're safe, is being able to say, you know what, I haven't seen my kids today. And being able to recognize, I'm sure that's hard.
Right. Or if they stay,
Right.
who's going to make dinner for my kids?
Correct.
Or, there's all of those things. Yeah.
And it goes back to I think it was our
Brandy.
first,
Yeah.
our first podcast, to where one of our EDs with us, I mean, she literally has gone and said, because you're staying, I will send a pizza to your home.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That was Brandy. I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
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 And that's what we should think of.
Correct. But again, it's that human element, that human connection, being able to go out and have those conversations. And can you just see it in their face? Sometimes that's all you have to do is look and see, not be so busy
Yeah.
that you just run by, how you doing, Chelsey? And you keep walking by.
Or you don't even look at them and you're just doing the drive-by, like,
You
don't
drive
look,
by.
don't look, don't look. Yeah,
I check the box, I walk by.
Yeah, you
I
can
talk to
spot that
Chelsea,
from a
she's
mile
doing
away.
fine.
Right.
Versus, Chelsea, it seems like today's been a rough day.
Yeah.
What's going on? And if you can make that human connection.
Right. We're all going through things. And I think,
absolutely.
every person in this world, like life is hard, whether if, everyone's going through something silently.
Yes.
And if people could just understand that and have a little empathy and compassion, that would move our mission in itself. And, and this is just, we get real on this podcast. We talk about life and all those things.
It was interesting you said that of everyone's going through something silently, which is so true.
Yeah.
I always want to encourage, we shouldn't have to go through things silently.
Yeah.
There's this old mantra in the world of business of like, you bring a different self to work and you leave a different self at home.
You check it at the door.
That is just not realistic.
No.
This is not the actual Apple TV show Severance enacting itself in our lives. Like we bring our whole selves there and we have to honor our whole selves and our team members' whole selves. Like recognize that we are imperfect individuals. We're vulnerable individuals. We're susceptible to lots of things. And there's always this idea of like, leave it all behind. But the best leaders know that our care team members don't. And we acknowledge that. And we try to find ways for them to actually work through that while they're at work too.
Yeah.
Well, and again, because I know we do have care team members that listen to our podcast, and I would just encourage any of them that are listening is show up with us.
Yeah.
Allow us to help partner beside you. Sometimes we can't fix it. Sometimes we may not even have the solution, but sometimes we don't know until we know. And we can go and look and say, did we miss something? Is there a better solution? Is there a way we can step in and help and give you what you need? Because again, to your point, nobody should feel alone. And nobody should feel like, 2/3, 3/4 of my brain is dealing with my life. And then the other quarter is dealing with my job, because that's what sometimes they're faced with. And that's the piece that it's like, how do we allow them to be real and be able to say it, but know that when I say it, I'm safe. It's not going to show up on my review. I'm safe. It's not going to show up in some other type of document, or it's not going to be all of a sudden Chelsey knows about it because I went and told Chelsey, and then Chelsey went and told Sarah, and all of a sudden what I thought was so personal is now out there, and that's where we have to just keep things protected. But I just, again, if anybody's listening from our organization, please show up. Please let us know. Because again, there's things that we just don't know sometimes, and we can step in and help. Can't fix everything, but we can definitely keep striving for that.
We can't fix everything, but we can make it better together.
We can. Absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. If you could talk directly to someone who's working a double shift right now, a CNA or a QMA, they're exhausted. They're wondering if anyone in leadership even sees them. what would you want them to know?
I don't think it's so much about something that I would want them to know. I think it's more about what do I need to know to support them. So I think as a leader, a really great thing that we can approach every conversation or in conversations with is, what can I do to help you?
Yeah.
I'm here to serve you. I actually do believe in servant leadership significantly, and came from a background of the inverted organization chart where the people we serve is at the top of our organization and your executive leadership's at the bottom of that. And so it's always about, we're taking direction from you. What do you want from us? So I think that's how I would open up that conversation of, what do you need from me? How can I make this the end of your shift better for you right now?
What's the one thing you wish more people understood about what it takes to lead people well in this industry?
It takes a lot. And maybe it's not even leading people in this industry. It's just leading people as a whole. Yeah. And ultimately what I would tell you is it takes vulnerability to be able to define and understand our own weaknesses or imperfections or areas that we can improve on to serve the individuals around us. As a leader, I think sometimes the most powerful thing that you can come back to your care team members to show them that you are invested in them is to say, I got it wrong yesterday.
Yeah.
I reflected on it and I'm going to do better for you. And we've already done that here at our time together in Majestic Care and Bluegrass. We were saying, you know what, we're changing the course of things. We're forging a new path. It's because we didn't feel like the last one was taking us in the right direction. So I feel like that is probably the main thing as a leader is you need to be able to admit when you're not going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And vulnerability, expanding that in, be prepared for difficult conversations.
Right.
That's just advice that's going to serve you in every relationship in your life, right? You can't bury things. You've got to bring it out into the open. And if we don't do that, if we fail to do that, we have failed our care team members. We've made it impossible for them to succeed.
Yeah.
So don't shy away from those difficult things. There's a right way to do it and there's a wrong way to do it. I will always say that. And that right way is always doing it with dignity, respect, and expressing that you're there to care for them and set them up for success.
One of the things that we're striving for as the executives is, and again, as leaders, we learn and grow, but I read a little paragraph every Wednesday at our executive meeting, and part of it is we bring the issues here, and I can't, but basically we discuss them, argue them, so on here, and then we leave with one voice. So again, it goes back to is that, having that ability to walk in and have a conversation. There's a right and a wrong, but having it, disagreement, figuring it out, coming up with the best solution and moving it forward.
Agree.
All righty. Last question. What does excellence mean to you?
Oh, if I were to boil it down to a really simple concept, it's do the right thing, no matter how hard it is. And I mean, no matter how hard it is, physically, emotionally, time drain, it's do the right thing. I don't think we should hold ourselves back by processes or, procedures and that entrenchment in what has passed, what we've done in our prior lives. It's about doing the right thing for our residents and for our care team members. So if that means maybe you break the rules, you heard it from HR. Sometimes you break the rules to do the right
on the
thing.
record.
But it is about finding that creative solution that we come back to. Yeah. Like, where do we meet individuals in the middle? And really, the world is gray. It is not black and white.
No.
And so find the way to make gray the most beautiful color for you.
I love that.
I think that's a great response.
That's perfect.
I echo it completely because, again, when you look at policies, they're written in a time and a moment. They're not written to be the cornerstone for the rest of our lives. And I think sometimes we write them and we don't realize because not every situation's evolved. And then all of a sudden it's like something evolves. Well, I can't do it. The policy says, okay.
Right.
Well, we didn't predict that ever happening. So we need to scrap it and let's make the decision, because at the end, if we're avoiding to make a decision for our care team members who take care of our residents and it's something then deviate from the policy, and we can always rewrite the policy to meet the need of the company.
Correct.
Yeah, I echo what you're saying. There's a way to do it in transparency, honesty. Did it for the right reason. I will never default somebody if they make a decision because of the care for this resident.
Mm-hmm.
How can you default someone for that?
Right.
Correct. We should always be looking for that harm
Correct.
avoidance in
Right.
any way that we can. And that means bending.
Right.
Well, it goes back to, I just remember, and we've talked about this, is with nurses. I don't know about when you started out in your career as a nurse, but back when I started as administrator, I can't tell you how many nurses we fired for med airs. And then having this wake up moment and realization at one time, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. What's the root cause of that?
Right.
Have we done enough?
Right. And we did
To help
because the
prevent those
policy
med
said
errors.
if you have so many med errors, it's like an attendance thing, right? Check the
Mhm.
box. You have so many attendants, therefore, you have so many med errors, therefore, versus saying, okay, first of all,
What happened?
what happened and caused this? And was it that Chelsey was in the middle of a med pass and the actual root cause was Chelsea's trying to pass meds for X amount of residents and she's getting up interrupted every 2 minutes.
Right. Or someone
Distraction.
fell and
Right. Someone
What were the
fell.
contributing
Correct.
factors to
Fall.
this situation?
yeah.
And so then to say, well, I'm sorry, but you made the error. So it's literally black and white.
Right. Like
Check, check, check.
Goodbye.
You're termed versus, okay, we put you in an environment that nobody can be 100%.
right. That was set up for you to fail.
Correct.
Actually.
But again, if to your point, if you follow the policy or attendance issue, if you follow the policy, well, did anybody ask Sarah why she's always late? Oh, Sarah's a single mom. Oh, Sarah has kids. Oh, Sarah has.
Yeah.
Okay. Have we even talked to Sarah? Like, how can we help her be successful?
Yeah, like make sure we have that full understanding
Correct.
of an issue before we take action on an issue,
Correct.
which, unfortunately, that's a mistake lots of leaders make.
We do.
But let's look back on that, learn from it, and move forward.
Correct.
Well, that's a wrap. I'm going to end us out here, but anything else that either of you want to add or you would like our listeners to know? Anything else?
I'm very happy to be here. And what I can only emphasize enough is this is a team of leadership that is very committed to taking care of all the people in our orbit.
Yeah.
And I really say all the people in our orbit. Like, how do we make the best days that we can going forward? It's going to take time. We recognize we have a lot of work to do, and we can't do that overnight. We are drawing up those plans now. We're breaking ground on those next steps. And I'm very excited about what's going to come from that foundation. So I just invite everyone, stick with us. And there's just such amazing future ahead of us. And I do believe that we will be the best that we can be.
And I would only echo everything you're saying. And I would just say that I'm so excited that Sarah chose to join us. And again, and we've talked a little bit about this, but just so people know, like, this wasn't just, hey, I live in Noblesville and I'm going to join. Sarah left her community, her family to join us and bring her expertise to help us change the culture of our company and the face of our company, which is for our workforce, which is ultimately going to provide. And so anybody that knows, and again, it wasn't like she moved 20 people here with us. It's just her and Luke, her husband.
It's just the two of us and our two dogs.
And your
And
dogs.
her dogs. So again, support system and everything is in Missouri. So again, to me, I can't say thank you enough for trusting us as a company to be an employer that you're willing to make such a drastic change in your life. So thank you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that
Truly,
and feel very
truly.
welcome to be here and excited. I will develop new chosen family here. I feel
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I love that. Perfect ending. Well, thank you for tuning in to the Hearts of Excellence. Sarah's journey is a reminder that the best leaders in healthcare aren't the ones who make the most noise. They're the ones who quietly remove every obstacle standing between a care team and the person who needs them most. If you're interested in learning more about the culture at Majestic Care or want to find out more about our career opportunities, visit majesticcare.com/contact us. Or if you or a loved one needs long-term care, reach out to us. We're here to support your next chapter. Talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to Hearts of Excellence. To learn more about becoming a care team member or how we can support your loved ones, visit majesticcare.com. And don't forget to follow and share, because every story deserves to be heard.